Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. My name's Imogen, and in today's video I am sharing my review of the book of the month, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, and let's get started. Honestly, I really liked this book. So it was full of interesting stories and well-presented insights. Basically the background, the author is a guy who had a very long career, and he developed over the years a series of ways to make people like him and just to develop his interpersonal skills. And eventually he produced a course on this, and then people were like, oh, you should write a book. So he wrote a book and he published it. And for a book that was written nearly 100 years ago, so this came out in 1936, it's extremely readable and well written. So this video is going to be in 4 sections. Firstly, 3 principles for handling people, then 6 ways to make people like you, then 12 ways to win other people to your way of thinking, and then 9 ways to be a leader. So let's take a look at the main key points. Alright, 3 principles for handling people. Number 1, don't criticise, condemn or complain. So this one's easy. If you don't have to criticise someone, don't. Don't bring that negative energy into people's lives, they will not like you for it. Number 2, give honest and sincere appreciation. If someone's doing something right, tell them, okay? People love to hear that they're doing stuff right. So give appreciation where it is due, and even if it's only a small thing, someone's going to appreciate that. Number 3, make the other person want something. So this is about making the other person want to do what you want. So say you've got someone who needs to pick up a package for you, and you're like, oh, well, how can I persuade them to do this? Well, you can offer them ice cream, for example, or just say, oh, you'd be a good person if you did this. So those kinds of things. Obviously, I'm not the expert, but make the other person want something. That was quite brief, but on to section 2, 6 ways to make people like you. So become genuinely interested in other people is number 1. And this means to essentially take an interest in other people's lives. Recognize how unique and special everyone's life is and what they have to offer. They have interesting stories, they're living an interesting and unique existence. So become genuinely interested in other people, and it will show, and they will like you for it. Number 2, smile. Now, I'm not going to be some asshole who is telling everyone to smile, because if you don't feel like smiling, you shouldn't. But it does have a positive impact on other people. So if you're trying to impress someone, then greet them with a smile, because they like that. It shows positive energy, and it shows that you probably like them, and they're going to like you back. So, smile. Number 3, remember a person's name and use it. So this works on me. If you use my name, I'm going to be like, hello. So if you remember someone's name, that shows that you care, and if you use it, then it shows that you've remembered it long term, and also it gets their attention instantly. They're gonna be like, oh. So remember a person's name and use it. All right. Next one, be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. Now you can be really well liked by just listening to other people go on about their lives. Now somebody will say, oh, you're so good at conversation, and you've done nothing but listen to them go on about possibly quite mundane stuff, but they love you for it, but they're gonna absolutely eat it up. Alright, talk in terms of the other person's interests. This is something I do a lot, and it's actually something I did before I read this book. But if you can, so for example, you're going to a job interview. Now, what you should not do is talk about, oh, this company's gonna look so good on my CV, and I wanna get this job because it's prestigious. What you should do is say, look, I think I can add value to your team. Let me show you how, okay? So there's a massive difference. The employer's going to want to hire the second person because they're looking to give and not take. Obviously, you'll get something out of it as well, but emphasize what you can give. Alright, and the final point for this section, make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. So if you can find something that the other person is good at, congratulate them on it. Oh, I've heard you're an amazing author. Oh, I've heard you're really good at football. So those things, your reputation precedes you, that's going to impress someone. If someone came up to me and said, oh, I love your YouTube channel, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm going to listen to this person. They appreciate, my creativity and what I do. So it completely works on me. I will put that out there. You want to impress me? Yeah, okay? It works on people in general. So make the other person feel important. And also, people can tell if it's not sincere. So pick something you actually feel sincere about. Alright, section 3, 12 ways to win other people to your way of thinking. This is the really sort of bulk of the book. It's really persuasive. So number 1, you can't win an argument because the other person will be mad they lost. Okay, even if the other person grudgingly accepts that you're right, they're still they probably won't change their mind because they'll be like, well, I hate you for being right. Okay, so the only way to win is to diffuse the situation and avoid conflict. And I don't arguments are fun, okay? They can be. But also I'm conflict avoidant, so now I'm not sure. But anyway, the point is, People don't like to be proven wrong. They don't like to be argued with. They don't like to be fought. So don't do that. Number 2, show respect for the other person's opinions and never say that they are wrong. Even if they are obviously wrong, you could be like, okay, well, I respect your opinions. Let's look at the facts, okay? So that will make people feel that you respect them and that you are actually trying to come to the truth rather than be right necessarily. All right, if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. So if you are wrong, just say to the other person, look, I'm wrong, okay? Please teach me. And they will actually probably be quite, like, impressed by that, because it takes a lot of maturity to admit you're wrong. If you're not, like, mature, you're going to double down and be like, no, I'm right. But you're not. So if you're wrong, admit it. Move on, all right? Begin in a friendly way. So if you come up to someone and you're in, like, a bad mood and you're willing to, like, you look like you're ready to fight, then they are not going to receive you well. But if you come up to them and you're like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? I always begin my YouTube videos with a smile and a positive tone, so I hope you all appreciate that. But the point is, begin in a friendly way and the interaction will likely continue in a friendly way. Okay, give the other person some easy stuff to say yes to at the start so they get in a positive and receptive mindset for whatever else you have to say. So an example of this, I think the example given in the book was a sales guy, and he was like, oh, do you want to improve your life? Like, the other was like, yes, yes. And do you want to have like a clean home? And they were like, yes, yes. And then saying yes initially put them in a positive mindset to say yes later on. So I do this with a lot of my YouTube titles actually. I'll say, oh, do you want to be more self-aware? Or this is how I made X amount with my side hustle, and everyone's like, oh yes, I want to do that, and then you click on it. So, gotcha. Okay, let the other person do most of the talking. I am talking at you right now, but you should let the other person do most of the talking, because that is, firstly, you're listening to them, so they're going to like you, and secondly, you find out what they want, so it's easier to sort of work with that. Easy tip. Alright, guide the other person to your idea and let them feel it is their idea. So you can do this by asking pointed questions and helping other people to come around to your way of thinking. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a manipulative one, but it can also help other people feel that they're involved in the decision-making process. Alright, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Like, think about what it's like to be them. I find this really difficult, so I'm working on it, but the point is, think about what the other person wants. Like, what are their dreams, their hopes, their goals, okay? What does the other person want? See things from their point of view. Alright. Be sympathetic to the other person's views and ideas. Once you've worked out what their views and ideas are, don't, like, dismiss them. Appeal to the other person's sense of morality and make them want to do good. Like, a lot of people have the urge to, like, be a good person. I know I do. And the sort of, when someone appeals to that, it's like, oh yes, of course I want to be a good person. Of course I'll, like, help you move. Or, of course I'll, like, get you a glass of water. So other people can be quite helpful if you appeal to, I want you to be a good person. Okay? 2 more tips in this section. Dramatise your ideas. Show them in a practical way what your point is. So one of the examples given in the book was a guy who thought he could save a shop owner money. And he went into the shop, and the shop owner wasn't really listening to him. So he took out a handful of coins, and he threw the coins on the floor, and he was like, that's how much money you're wasting. And the shop owner started to listen to him, which I thought was quite clever. So dramatise your ideas and find a practical way to show what your point is, which really sort of drives it home. And the final point in this section is to throw down a challenge. Now, I really like the example in the book, but basically, the example in the book was that there was a factory, and the guys were like, they were producing like so many units of the product per hour, or per shift. And at the end of the shift, the manager came in and he was like, okay, so how many units have you produced? And they said 6. So he wrote down, with chalk on the floor, he wrote down a big 6. The next shift came in, they saw the 6, and they were like, oh, we can do better than that. So the next shift left with a 7. And then the previous shift came in again, they were like, oh, they think they're better than us, do they? Okay, so then they left with a 10. Okay, so you can see how it builds up, and it can be used in your own life as well. So developing healthy competition can be a really positive thing. Alright, final section, 9 ways to be a leader. Alright, begin with praise and honest appreciation, and then add suggestions for improvement. So if you're a leader and you're, like, the people you're managing, they have, like, screwed up, okay? They've done something wrong, and you are so ready to go in there and be like, oh, you've done this wrong, you've done this wrong, you've done this wrong. But that's not going to help, because they're going to resent you. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to go in there and you're going to say, great work, team. I'm absolutely loving how you're progressing right now. I've got a couple of ideas that we can use to make this even better. Okay? So approaching it from that point of view, they're going to feel appreciated and they're going to be receptive to what you have to say. The next tip in this section is to call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. So this can be done through asking questions like, how do you think we could do this best? Or do you think that was a good decision? So that sort of draws on people's capacity for self-reflection and can help guide people to their mistakes without you directly saying you're wrong. And then they will like you. Right, number 3, talk about your mistakes before criticising the other person. I've done this. So for example, if I'm like helping someone with something academically, then I'll always be sure to start with, oh yeah, I messed that up at the beginning too. Let me show you the fix I found. So that often like it diffuses the situation and they don't feel lectured to. So yeah, and also I really like it when someone does that with me. So I often I mess up academically, and when someone says, oh yeah, that's a really common mistake, like for example my dissertation supervisor, I went to her the other day and I said, look, I'm just feeling really sort of discouraged because I don't think my data's good enough, I don't think my methods are good enough. And she told me a story about a time she just like made a mistake in her PhD, and it honestly, it really helped me because I was like, oh okay, that calms down my imposter syndrome a little bit. Anyway, ask questions to guide people to the right course of action rather than giving orders. This one's quite self-explanatory, I kind of covered it earlier in the video. Let the other person save face and keep their dignity. Never seek to humiliate someone, okay, because they will hate you for it. I can guarantee that. Praise even a tiny bit of improvement. If you see someone improving even a little bit, okay, you gotta praise it. Give the other person a good reputation to live up to. If you say, oh, I've heard you're amazing at this, then they're going to want to keep improving on that. So give the other person a good reputation to live up to. Use encouragement and make any mistakes seem easy to correct. You should be like, oh yes, this is great, you've done a fantastic job, amazing. A couple of small things that you could improve, but I'm sure you could fix them in 5 minutes. That kind of thing. All right? Make the other person happy to do the thing you suggest. And basically this works by showing them the benefits they'll get from doing what you want. So again, it's what's in it for them. Alright, some concluding thoughts. I realised that I've been using several of the principles unknowingly, sort of having figured them out from my own experience, especially the one about talking in terms of what the other person wants, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Human nature doesn't change despite the passage of time, so this book is just as relevant and applicable now as it was in 1936. I could honestly feel how likeable the author was, through the pages of the book, so I think the techniques all worked on me. He writes really well. And that's the end of this video. I hope you apply all of the tips. If you did, let me know in the comments. But yeah, follow me on Instagram, give this video a huge thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys!